Hey guys, this is Tauna. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Usually I go and I create a different kind of upgrade guide for each of the new precons and stuff. But this time around I thought I'd do something different and kind of mash them all together into one video. There's going to be chapters down below that you can go look at, or just watch the whole thing if you want to see, what upgrades I do to the other decks, because maybe that's going to interest you and maybe they might move the deck in a way that you would prefer. So all four of these decks I've done upgrades for. I tried to keep them budget, but I also included some 4 different big upgrades that you could potentially do for each of them. So let's get started with the Eldrazi Incursion. So this one's based around Ulalek there and his whole, copying the stack and doing a whole bunch of little Eldrazi and everything. So the aim of the deck here is to ramp up with Scions and Spawns, cast big Eldrazi, and then copy those Eldrazi and other value cards with the commander. So the additions I've done are It That Heralds the End, so that's going to make all your Eldrazi be cheaper as well as buff them up. Kozilek's command here gets you to create a whole bunch of Eldrazi spawn, or you can scry, or you can exile something, or you get to exile cards from graveyard. So a lot of different ways you can potentially use that to, ramp yourself up or scry or draw cards. We've got Herald of Kozilek here. It's got Devoid, and then it's got making your colorless stuff cost cheaper. So essentially, we want to be able to get our big creatures out faster. Kozilek's unsealing here, making it so you get to create some spawns when you cast big stuff, and then from beyond, creating a whole bunch of Scions too. So you can see here that we're kind of leaning more into creating a whole bunch of Scions and spawns that we're then going to pay off into big things. So Path of Annihilation, again, creating more spawns, making it also so your Eldrazi can just tap for mana instead of needing to, sack them. Thrawn Dynamo here, an artifact to create, a whole bunch of colorless mana, Writhing Chrysalis, so that way we can, when we have all those Eldrazi spawn, when we sack them, we're going to be buffing that up. Reflections of Litjara here. There is a lot of Eldrazi that we're going to be using here that are not legendary, so we get to create copies of them. Really great. It's really good. Conduit of Ruin here, a big Eldrazi that we can cast to allow us to go find another big Eldrazi, and also making Eldrazi cheaper. We've got some of our other things here. Echoes of Eternity, we needed this in here. It makes it so that essentially it's kind of like a roaming throne just for Eldrazi. Really good. Kindred Dominance, choose Eldrazi, wipe out everything that's not Eldrazi. Darksteel Monolith, cast your Eldrazi really cheap. Flare of Loyalties, go steal something, and also with Annihilator there. And then Kozilek's kind of our big kind of splash card here, because I wanted one of the Titans in here, but this is like the cheapest one, but it's also going to be good to allow us to get to draw a whole bunch of cards, and then we can discard cards to counter stuff. Our cuts here are a lot of the kind of cards that weren't doing all that much in the deck, or that, have been replaced by essentially better versions of themselves. Mutated Cultist is really good, but it's very situational. Kozilek's Return is going to make it so that we wipe out Eldrazi, like our little Eldrazi here. Inversion Behemoth I like, but it's kind of more situational, while we could just add in some other big stuff to kind of get through there. A lot of the stuff that's just kind of, it's good in the deck, but there's better options. We kind of added in the better option here. Morophon's nice, but he just gives a +1/+1. He's just essentially a lord. He makes stuff a little bit cheaper to cast, but we don't have all that much stuff that's not going to, the cheapest thing that he's going to make is something be like 2 cheaper and stuff. Not all that insanely great. As for our more expensive upgrades, any of the big Eldrazi Titans are going to be great in here, and you can add them in. The new Ulamog is going to be insane. The older Ulamog as well is really great. Parallel Lives here to make it so that we're just creating lots of spawns, lots of Scions, and then Teferi's Protection, or some kind of, splash into those big expensive cards from other colors. We're in, a 5-color, 6-color deck, so getting something like Teferi's Protection to protect all our Eldrazi is a good option. Next, we've got the Graveyard Overdrive. So this is Disa. She's all around Legoifs, and whenever Legoifs go into the graveyard, except for from the battlefield, you get to bring it back, and then creating taunacg tokens whenever you deal combat damage. So this deck is built around self-milling yourself, discarding, or otherwise just getting things into your graveyard. You can also, there's a whole bunch of stuff around turning everything into Legoifs too, with like Maskwood Nexus, and then Disa bringing them all back and summoning more Legoifs, all that kind of really fun stuff. So our additions here, this one here, I did a lot of changes to the mana base. Like I started with the mana base because wasn't a huge fan of it to start with. Changeling Outcast here, I don't know why this is not in the base deck. It is going to be a Legoif that can't be blocked. It's just going to create another Legoif each time it deals damage. A taunacg each time it deals damage, and it can't be blocked. Really good. We've got other additions here. So Tortured Existence, so that way we can discard our Legoifs from our hand and they get to come back to the graveyard, as well as get some other creature cards from there back into our back into our hand too. Life from the Loam, getting milling stuff, as well as getting our lands back into our hand that we happen to mill. Ripple's Arm to Death, mill. Bloodline Pretender. So this is whenever another creature of the chosen type enters the battlefield under your control. So all the taunacg tokens that Disa is creating will work there. Buried Alive is probably the most powerful card in this deck, because you take that, you choose 3 different Legoifs that are in your deck, you chuck them all into your graveyard, and then all of a sudden they're all back on the battlefield. Really cool. Some other additions, Out of the Tombs, to make it so that you're milling stuff, a whole bunch of mill there. We've got 6 here, milling, as well as then you can get lands back from there too, as well as giving all your non-land permanents retrace from there, which is nice. Tauron Mauler, I really like. Greater Good, sack your Legoif, it comes back anyway, but then you get to draw cards. And then Conspiracy here, because you can turn all of your stuff into Legoifs then. Another way to, Maskwood Nexus stuff, essentially. So the cuts here, I cut some of the lands that weren't as great and then replaced them with those other ones. I did cut an additional land just because, I didn't think I needed it after kind of changing some of the tap lands and stuff. And just some more color lands. Some other stuff that we cut here, just stuff that was kind of like good Jund stuff that just wasn't all that great in the deck. Tempt with Mayhem, I like and I love this card, but it doesn't really work in this deck in my opinion. We've got, some other stuff here, just, good Jund stuff that wasn't necessarily great in the deck, essentially. Some more expensive additions you can add, the new Grist will be bonkers here. Nethergoyf I've put in here. At the moment, this card is sitting at a crazy high price. However, it's not released yet. It is a mythic, so these two here not released yet. Maybe they'll go down in price, who knows, but at the moment they're too expensive. I think Parallel Lives, just copy, create a whole bunch of more Tarmogoyfs, and then Mesmeric Orb here, making it so that everyone is milling stuff, but then also so you're milling stuff as well, which is what we want, but then causing other people to mill stuff, and that's always going to end well. So the next one here is the Satya Creative Energy deck. This is built around creating a whole bunch of energy from various sources, creating tokens of creatures or, other tokens as well, and then spending that energy to either buff up creatures, make more creatures, and deal damage. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that's, create some creatures and stuff with your energy too. So some additions that we've done here, there's a lot of additions either from, Modern Horizons 3 here. So this Guide of Souls here, creating a lot of energy and a lot of life. I also changed the land over to the Exotic Orchard there. And then we've also got a whole bunch from Fallout 2. So like the automated assembly line here, making it so that any artifact creatures deal combat damage, we get some energy there. Wrath of the Skies allows us to destroy stuff. Nice. We've got Panharmonicon has gone down a lot in price, which means that any of those kind of triggered abilities are going to get doubled, and we've got a lot of different triggered abilities like Madison and stuff, so a lot of really great stuff there. Electro Siphon here for a counter, Aether Revolt here to just deal additional damage each time we attack, Robo Brain, Warmind getting energy too, and then we can draw cards from energy. Port Raiser is an infinite. Port Raiser plus Satya is an infinite. It's crazy strong. So Vault 112 here. Get some energy, and then we can use energy to to exile cards from the top of our library, and then play them without paying our mana cost. Sean, I like for creating more tokens, right? Like, I wanted to create, like, I don't mind the kind of token base, like, copying stuff in the deck. So Sean is just another way we can do that, especially because when you copy a whole bunch of the ETB energy stuff, you know, that's going to be great. Just more energy. Motherload, create energy, and then spend that energy to destroy people's lands and stuff. It's fun. And then Behemoth of Vault 0 enters, get energy, and then pay energy to destroy target permanents when it dies. So some of the cuts were just, you know, the stuff that was either more kind of, I don't know why Grenzo's in there. I don't know why Grenzo's in here. We cut a land, we cut Wayfarers, some of the just kind of generic artifacty kind of stuff as well. There's a lot of generic artifacty kind of stuff that I kind of cut here. Tezzeret's Gambit, I don't particularly think that that's a great card in this deck. Like, we can proliferate, but we don't really have all that much stuff as +1/+1s. It's going to get us another energy, which is good, but that's really it. Silver Quill Lecturer, demonstrating cards is cool, and I love this card, but I just don't think it kind of fits in with what we're aiming to do. You know, some of these cards as well, like just generic kind of artifacty stuff, just kind of ended up cutting it because I prefer to kind of lean more into the energy there. Some more expensive additions you can add. There's not really expensive energy additions, but, like, you know, expensive token additions, definitely. You know, Ocelot Pride, Mondrak, Dockside, all expensive token stuff. Displacer Kittens here to kind of flicker our blue, like our creatures and stuff, to get those ETBs again a second time. So as for Omo here, Tricky Terrain, this deck is built around getting Omo to turn everything into everything all at once, playing lands for landfall, and then huge mana as well with like mana reflection and stuff. And then to win, you get Maze's End, which we'll talk about in a minute because I added that into the deck. Scoots, untapping everything, or just using that mana to get huge stuff out like Apex Devastator here. So some additions that we did here, I added in some new lands, changed the lands a little bit. So Maze's End is a win con because we're going to get a lot of lands out, a lot of lands out that we can then turn into gates, and then with Omo have them all into gates. Now, one issue you're going to run into is that Omo, once she dies, then the everything counters don't do anything, but we'll have so much mana we can potentially recast her anyway. Baldur's Gate here, because we're going to have so many gates, this is just going to be crazy mana. Crop rotation, sack your lands, get a new land out. We've got ways to bring back our lands, Descendants Path, so that way, because the things that I kind of added were more stuff to do around our lands and stuff. So like crop rotations to do with lands, Spelunkies to do with lands, but then I also wanted to kind of lean into the everything counters on the creatures as well. So everything's Descendants Path, if you've put an everything counter onto one creature, it's going to be every creature type, which means if you use this and you reveal a creature, then it's guaranteed that you get to play it for free. Some other additions here. So 13th Doctor, she untaps everything at the beginning of our end step if it has a counter on it. Because of the fact we've got the everything counters, we're going to have so many counters out on stuff. Huckbal, because of Merfolk, he's going to get to do that, as well as put lands out there when he attacks. Blossoming Tortoise gets, you know, milling cards and then put lands out. Nail here gets to look at cards, so we get to look at 5 cards because we'll have every basic land type, and then we get to put one onto the top of the library, the rest down the bottom, and then we get to draw cards from it. Shifting Sliver is going to make every creature not be blocked, because we're going to have everything counters on things. Everything's going to be a sliver, so nothing can be blocked there. Tempt with Discovery, I think, is the strongest card that I kind of added in that wasn't necessarily a land here. This is a crazy card because we get to look for a land card. Everyone else won't want to look for a land card because everyone wants to ramp, so then we get to look for more land cards. Whelming Wave, because of the fact that everything's going to be Krakens, Leviathans, Octopuses, or Serpents, we get to put them all, like all our stuff is, we get to put everyone else's stuff back into their hands. Ancient Green Warden, play lands from our graveyard, as well as double all of the ETBs from landfall and stuff. Clara, you might be thinking, what the heck's she doing in here? Because of the fact that everything is going to be doctors, she gets to then double it. She gets to double everyone's triggers. It's crazy good. And then Zolotoyak here to untap all of our stuff as well, because essentially the same as 13th Doctor, and also to make things into islands, because that's fun. So the things that are cut, cut some of the more generic lands there. Arcane Denial and Fogbank, I didn't think really added much. Basically, a whole bunch of stuff that kind of didn't add much. Chromatic Lantern, I'm really surprised is in this deck, given the fact that we only have 2 colors, but I guess it's because they've got a whole bunch of stuff there that's like colorless mana, but then, because of the fact that you're giving it, like, you can potentially turn it into a forest, you can then just tap it for green anyway. Just kind of the more generic kind of green, blue, good stuff that I've kind of cut here, or, just stuff that I didn't think added enough to the deck. Some of the more expensive additions you can add is stuff like Swarmyard. You just tap it to regenerate an insect, rat, spider, or squirrel. Everything's going to be an insect, rat, spider, or squirrel, or both, all of those. Coat of Arms here, you get to get some really nice stuff from, because it's for each creature. Each creature gets +1/+1 for each other creature on the battlefield that shares at least one creature type with it. So because of the fact everything's going to be the same creature type, you get to do that to everything. Maskwood Nexus, so that way if your everything counters are dropped off, you get to do that. And then Field of the Dead is like the best land that you could potentially add into here, because of the fact that you can just going to create so many zombies with it. But that's it today, guys. I hope you liked this version of the upgrade guide. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think of this, as opposed to separating them all out. I hope you guys had a wonderful day, and goodbye.